Hi, I'm Paul from wearechange.victoria.org. The house I recently acquired has a newly installed smart meter. There's nothing much I can do about it, other than replacing it with an analog meter myself. But that's something that I don't think I'd want to do. Since safety first is my main concern, I think I'll leave it up to the professionals, the electricians who know what they're doing to do that. The main reason why this smart meter concerns me is because of the increasing rise in house fires that we've seen from mainly these smart meters that have been installed. Some of the reported house fires that we've seen on the mainstream media is in Coquitlam on August 5th, that was done by CBC, in East Vancouver on August 17th, that was done by Global News. Mission in June 15th, the Vancouver Sun reported a house that went up in flames just after a new smart meter was installed. And also in the USA, there's Georgia, there's Illinois, there's Houston, there's tons of places where these new installed smart meters have actually caused fires. So that's my main concern acquiring this house. Keep in mind, these recent examples of smart meter fires were started when they were first initially installed, and most of these fires have been caused by the base plate behind it. But BC Hydro, of course, claims that since it's the base plate is part of the house, it's the homeowner's responsibility for the fire. It's your fault. I'm unsure when this smart meter was installed, but I still have a concern over this device and the potential fire that it could cause. Since I can't control the installation and potentiality of a house fire, I can still protect myself and my family from the hazardous health concerns that have been brought up by many health officials. Entitled Smart Meters, Correcting the Gross Misinformation, the letter written by Dr. David Carpenter, founder of the University at Albany School of Public Health, states notably, quote, "Wireless meters typically produce millisecond-long RF bursts, on average 9,600 times a day, with a maximum of 190,000 daily transmissions. People in proximity to a smart meter are at risk of significantly greater aggregate of RF microwave exposure than with a cell phone, not to mention the cumulative exposure received by people living near multiple meters mounted together, pole-mounted routers, or utility collector meters using a third antenna to relay RF signals from 500 to 5,000 homes," unquote. Many scientists and medical experts urgently recommend that measures following the precautionary principle be applied immediately, such as using wired meters to reduce biologically inappropriate microwave exposure. There have also been numerous news reports of hydro bills doubling and increasing with the installation of these new smart meters. Reports of Gibson in April 2012, Parksville in June 2012, Nanaimo in June 2012, Langley in July 2012, Vancouver in July 2012, Victoria in March, and so many other times. The list keeps on going. Now the good news is that we've got remedy for all this. Yeah, that's a good thing. You always have to look for the solution, and at Freedom Free for All TV here, we're all about solutions. There's a lot of problems in the world, but we need solutions. And some of the remedy that I've found helpful to protect the privacy and health of my family and myself is by purchasing a smart meter blocker from smartmeterblocker.com. It comes packaged in a box, it comes with instructions, and it's easy to install. Let's go ahead and install it. In the box, you will open it up, you'll find an instruction sheet. This instruction sheet will tell you exactly what you've got to do and how to do it. The next item you'll find in the box is a long piece of metal that's easily malleable. It can bend into shape, and this is what goes around the outside part of your smart meter. The next thing you'll find is the front faceplate cover of the smart meter. And at the very bottom of the box, you'll receive a square pad which goes on the back side on the inside of your house. You'll also receive a bunch of stickers in which you can put on your guitar, your laptop, you can put it on your smart meter, you can put it on your bumper. So now that we've opened the box and see the contents inside the box, let's go ahead and give this thing a dry fit. Just gonna put it around there nice and easy. Now that we know that it works, we can go ahead and pull the tabs. Now they don't fit perfectly, but I think it'll do the trick. Now let's put on the faceplate. Now it has a little tiny round device here on the end. Makes it a little bit weird because it pops out, but that's okay. Just go ahead, pull the tabs, and stick it on. Now remember, the key is to keep the faceplate open so that BC Hydro and its readers can come by and read your meter. So if you're like me and you're concerned as I am about these new smart meters and the rapidly increasing erosion of individual privacy, safety, freedom and liberty, you can do the same as me and you can be the change you want to see. Let's go take a look and see what others have done to protect their families. Hey, Brad.
Hey, Paul, what's going on, man?
How you doing?
Just doing some gardening.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. How's your garden?
Oh, pretty good considering you know, some of the trails they've been sticking in the sky these days. I'm glad to be growing, and
Today seems to be kind of like a hazy day with a couple chemtrails.
They got us a few times.
Yeah, there's a crisscross here that I see and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So here, I see that you got a Attention BC Hydro Corks installer. What's that all about?
Yeah, have you not seen these? This is just a little deterrent for Corex to come and impose a new smart meter on you if you don't want one, and I don't want one. So
yeah, and I see that you built a snazzy little box there. That's a cool invention.
Yeah, SmartMeterBlocker.com has a great product that they put around the existing meter, but I didn't hear about that in time, and I heard that they were coming through my street. Corex had installed one on my neighbors, and so I put preventative measures together to stop them by building a little box around it so that they can't get it off of there without destroying my property in the process.
Well, that's interesting. Explain to the viewers what you exactly did here.
Oh, I just grabbed some plywood that I had laying around, and you know, if you're handy with a saw and you can manage a nail, just cut around the boxes that were coming in and going out of the smart meter, stuck it to the wall, pre-drilled some holes so I could drive some 3-inch galvanized spiral nails into the siding and into the framing, and yeah, it's pretty solid. It don't want to move. So yeah, it's just a way of preventing them from removing it.
And it has worked. It has prevented them from coming.
They can still read it. You see, I've exposed the plate so they can still read it. So I'm not obstructing them from looking at their meter. I'm just making sure they don't rip things off my property without my consent. That's
right. BC Hydro has a legal easement to read the monitor, so you're not obstructing that, are you?
No, not at all. But I am obstructing them from damaging my property or intruding on me with a device that I don't approve of.
So how long has this been working for you?
Oh, 6 months. I think these things were done in this area about 6 months ago. There's another person down the street who also armed themselves with a little notice such as this, and it seems that they have retained their analog meter. You can see it still runs. It's still good. There's nothing wrong with it. So
they can still come. They can still come and read it, and there's no problem.
Absolutely, absolutely no problem at all. But I have, you know, solved my problem, which is I don't want people, you know, imposing on me these gadgets that are obviously, like, you know, exposing people to a lot more radiation than we're used to, even though they seem to deny that.
So what's your major concerns with these?
Well, I've heard that they've had experienced fires with them. I understand that it's basically pollution in terms of excessive radio waves. There's a lot of people that contest their claims about the safety of them. As far as I know, it's a spyware. They're like to set up grids and towers with, like, your cell phone networks and cells. So I'm very concerned about the intrusion into my privacy. And as far as health issues are concerned, they have not addressed my concerns in regards to how much radiation is being emitted in this cell-like network they're trying to set up here. So yeah.
And there's also hydro bills that have increased here in Victoria and around the country.
And the thing is that they claim it's going to reduce your costs, when in fact we have many reports of people having dramatically increased cost, and actual errors on their bill just spikes. And so yeah, I'm not happy about them just deciding to impose this on me. So
what have they done? What has there been response to you?
Well, nothing really, other than they did send me a letter saying that they are aware that they have temporarily put a hold on updating the BC Hydro meter at this point. But they say that if I opt out, they're going to put it in another location on my property at my expense. I'm sorry, I don't think that that's correct. You have access, an easement to my property. You don't have an easement to impose additional costs just because I don't want you to intrude in my line with this contaminating device. So what was I'm not going to pay at my expense.
What was the premise of the letter that they sent you?
I suppose because their meter man came by to replace the meter and saw that we were not going to tolerate the intrusion. And so
what I noticed at the bottom here, it mentions a couple things. They state some facts here.
Yeah.
You want to read these facts off?
Well, they say the reducing the time it takes to direct and restore outages, helping to keep your electricity rates low. Well, that's highly questionable. Protecting you with new tools to save energy and save money. Well, that's contrary to the reports that we're getting. People seem to be paying just as much, if not more. They offer new BC hydro meters are supposed to be safe. They haven't addressed our concerns about their safety at all. They say it won't give you the same frequency as your radio or your television. We question that. We've got a lot of contrary information about how much this is radiating compared to a transistor, and they're saying here that's all it's irradiating. Well, sorry, false claims. I'm not happy with that. New meters communicate for a total of 1 minute per day, and it would take 20 years of standing next to a new smart meter to get the same exposure to radio frequency as a 30-minute cell phone call. Well, I question that. I want to see some verification for this sort of claims. I think they're making claims right off the wall, and yeah, so the answer is no. Do not assume the prerogative to impose this meter on me.
At the end of the day, so Brad, I know who you are and what you stand for, but just explain to the audience here why this is an important issue to you.
Well, I think it's part of a bigger picture. It's another intrusion into our privacy. I don't allow people to assume the prerogative to just place anything in my environment. I think we all need to realize that we have our sovereign rights over our property and over our human rights to be associated with other people the way we want to be associated with it. If we don't want these electronical devices in our homes, we have the right to our private property to not have them. We shouldn't have to explain that to anybody. We should have to simply have people respect our rights as they expect us to respect theirs. So it is a bigger picture that it's always this intrusion, always more, coming into our space, making demands on what we have in our environment. I think that we have the right to property. I think we have the right to liberty to choose, and I choose not to have these devices just dropped into my environment.
It's very fitting. It's like you give a rat a cookie and he demands a glass of milk with it. So eventually what happens is that, you give an inch, and eventually when the noose gets put around the neck, it feels as if it just tightens and tightens. So yeah, it's one way that you can find remedy. And
anybody can do the same thing. Just, protect your sovereignty, protect your own privacy, excuse me.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's all about freedom, and freedom is synonymous with respect. So you got to understand the law, you got to understand where your parameters are and where their parameters are, and then we can find peace in that.
And just protect your own rights. Just, push back. Question authority. Push back.
Well, if you didn't have one of these on here, Brad, then I would definitely recommend smartmeterblocker.com, because they got lots of different products that you can...
I just slapped this together because that's what I had, and you can do that too.
Yeah, you're a visionary, Brad. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. All right.
I'll get you back to your weeding, and I got to get back to the store. So It's Paul from wearechange.victoria.org. This is Brad Rhodes, Rhodes Rage, also from We Are Change Victoria. We're just doing a little report on the smart meters. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Greg Hill with wearechange.victoria.org. Standing at the steps of the BC Legislature in Victoria, we've just met Lorenzo, and Lorenzo was wearing a sign that said the national debt is the ultimate scam. Now, Lorenzo, this is exactly what we came here to talk about, and it's interesting that we bumped into you.
Synchronicity.
It absolutely is, and I'd love to hear, why you're here and why this is important.
I see a form of enslavement for humanity now, and it's very subtle over the years, and compound interest is the way it's going. It's that you get it's a false process, because you can issue money without going through the banking system, a private banking system. The National Bank is not a government agency. It has shareholders. And this is in the state with the Federal Reserve Board, all throughout the world. So these are private bankers that issue our money at compound interest. I've seen where, and I've only one place have I seen a student who calculated how much money was issued for programs in Canada since you know, they first started, it was $37 billion. Now we're approaching $650 billion at compound interest. The rest has been siphoned off. And this is the slavery, and it's growing exponentially. This is the slavery we're facing. Now the States is going to collapse under the pressure of their 16 billion, trillion. And it's deliberate. It's aimed and deliberate. And so I work at initiative, referenda, recall, direct democracy, so that we, the citizens, can interject and vote on that.
So why are you so passionate about this issue?
Well, I don't like slavery, for one thing. I've fought halfway around the world, so I'm an old fighter.
So you're here today, it's almost the end of 2012. You've been fighting and talking about these issues for decades.
Yes. I had a shop in North Van in 1980 where I had bulletins showing about the national debt, how it's created. I even had somebody from Chicago come and talk to me in my little second-hand store in North Van. He'd heard about me. But, you know, people are sort of laid back, and as long as they're eating and they got their jollies, they don't really want to fight. But now I think it's getting at such a critical time. You will see tremendous upheaval in the near future. This is what I sense.
So what role does the media play in keeping this information out of the public eye? How come we haven't heard more in the mainstream media from CBC, CTV, and our local stations? They're not talking about this.
They're well selected to not talk about it. They know that this process is happening, but they're churched, you might say, or selected to not push the issue, try to shove it under the table. And so I have no respect for these people that do that, because they're complicit in the slavery of humanity. And like I say, I'll stand against that in my dying breath. Yeah.
So what would you hope to see happen to get this issue to the forefront, to get people engaged?
Well, unfortunately, people sometimes only wake up with pain. There may be quite a bit of turmoil in the near future. I see the United States having a tremendous upheaval because of their multi-trillions that they have in debt. It will collapse. That's inevitable in time. There will be warfare. I push for initiative, referenda, recall with democracy. That's my bag. Now, you need to educate people. You've got to educate them in the school. The people that are against this are teaching our children to accept it. Our universities are teaching that they should accept to some degree, though there are elements that are fighting against it. But it's there throughout our whole economic system. So it's a hell of a battle. There's no doubt about it. But as I say, I'd rather go down and just tuck my head down and my tail down and slink away, you know, there's no way.
So do we need to, as citizens, stand up and hold people accountable, such as Mark Carney, the governor for the Bank of Canada, and bring them in, honestly, in for questioning, so we can go through an audit of the Bank of Canada and to ask about the collusion between the private banks and the issuance of our currency at compound interest, and why he, as the governor of the Bank of Canada, has allowed this enormous debt to be created as in tune with our monetary unit. This the inflation of not only the money supply has created inflation at the grocery store, and that's why we see the cost of food and energy so dramatically increasing year over year.
I think they're numb to the issue. It started in the Bank of England in the clause of 1694. At first they created, through the Bank of England, a clause where they would issue money through there. At that time they had a reserve need of 50%, so it was 2 to 1 that they would issue. Later on it went to 16 to 1. Under Mulroney, he took off all reserve. It's just pumped the paper out. Now this is what's happening in the United States. The printing press are working overtime, and to a great degree in Canada too. Now I've even seen where Canada said, well, we've got it under control. Yet they were working through a bank in England where they do not have to show what they're doing there. And they had billions of dollars in debt in Europe. But it does not show on the books if it's done through the bank in England. And this is the scam that's going on continually.
So what are your thoughts on, it seems like they've perpetuated and created this financial crisis, but almost with a later goal of achieving something else, perhaps a world currency. What are your thoughts on a world currency?
They want a one world government and a world currency.
Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, if you want to be a peasant in that element, they have a very select group that will be at the top. But the peasants, we, will not be living very well, I suspect, very badly. And we will not have democracy. It will be a form of slavery, you know, and so I'm against that. I find that democracy is one of the greatest things because free will choice is given to us by what I call our Creator. This is an inborn thing in people to have free will choice. And once you take that away from them, you make them an automaton, a robot. Now, I want my free will choice because there are tremendous potentials in human through that free will choice. Which I see. I don't know if you want it on this program, but this is what I work for. So.
Absolutely. So, Lorenzo, is there a place that you would direct people for more information to learn about this subject?
Yes, I have a website that I was running about 15 years ago. And there's about 13 small articles, and 3 of them are concerning currency and the national debt, and even the names of the people who were the shareholders in control of the British Bank at the time. Now, this is not a Jewish conspiracy. People make a mistake. It was done 100 years before the Rothschilds came in. Now, the Rothschilds expanded it, but it started under the British Crown, the Protestant religion, so on and so forth. And so I think we have to become very aware of that flaw of compound interest and nothing to back it up. My website is Guardians of Democracy, A Mystical View. And there's a few Guardians of Democracy, but it's http with mypage.direct.ca/l/lbouchar-. That's and that is about 15 years old, but the current things that are happening is really rooted in all that.
Again, this is Greg Hill with wearechange.victoria.org and Freedom Free for All TV. Lorenzo
Bouchard. It's an
absolute pleasure to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too.
I'm so happy to share this opportunity to work together and talk about such important issues.
Perfect. I couldn't have come at a better time than to meet people like you. You know, you need encouragement in life. And it gives me courage to keep on trucking. I'm stubborn as a mule, but...
Me too.
Yeah.
I would just like to end with Dr. Coleman. He wrote the book called The Committee of 300. He was former MI6. And it's very interesting what he says in his book. He started to investigate the British government. And why he started to investigate the British government is because he saw that all the drugs that were being brought into the country were brought into the country by the British government. And he said the men over there in Afghanistan, he said they are guarding the poppy fields, the heroin poppy fields, and our government is bringing in the drugs. He said there's a shadow government that runs our governments. It's not your elected officials. And he mentions who the shadow government is. This is a huge book, 480 pages, and I like to read the very end of it, what he says these people are intending to do. Now these people, he said, mostly are the bankers, against whom the American Revolution was originally fought. And these bankers, he said, funnel all these drug monies through their banks, and they run the government. And here is their plans for your future. A one-world fascist dictatorship, which they call the New World Order. Destruction of national identity and pride, and stamp out individuality in order to create the masses. Elimination of Christianity, and to be replaced with a new age religion, which they are the ones that have created this new age. Control people through mind control methods, eliminate property rights, establish a system of terror and fear, deindustrialize the United States and Europe and then the world, depopulate the world through a worldwide eugenics program of war, disease, pandemics, etc. Keep people from deciding their own destinies by creating crisis after crisis, then apathy is the result on a large scale. Cause a collapse of the world's economy in order to engender political chaos. Keep people and countries in debt that cannot be repaid. Take control of foreign and domestic policies of the United States. Give full support to supranational institutions such as the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Court. Penetrate and subvert all world governments and destroy sovereignty and integrity of the nations. Under the guise of spreading democracy and as a bulwark against terrorism, organize worldwide terrorist apparatus and negotiate with lawful governments for their surrender wherever terrorist activities take place, by allowing the U.S. to establish permanent military bases in those nations which will be carried out under the banner of bringing democracy. Promote drugs and pornography to destroy civilization. Subvert new inventions that could help mankind. Control the education in America with the intent and purpose of utterly and completely destroying it through gradual change in the curricula and teaching methods. Establish socialism in order to rob people of their wealth, nullify the federal constitution and states' rights, and in the end, control and depopulate most of the world.